Good morning or good afternoon, Tigers. Welcome back from spring break. I hope you guys enjoyed your 2 weeks off, and I hope that you are ready to learn more math and review. I'm excited. I had a good spring break, and yes, I missed you guys. So now, let's get back to math. Okay, so first things first, as always, write your last name, comma, first name, and write the date. Today I'm going to say that I'm a yellow tiger. If you are back on the actual day that you're supposed to be back, it should be April 3rd, 2017. All right, so if you look at number 1, it says 6 times the quantity of 14.3 minus 8.3. If you notice here, you only have constants. Constants just means that you have numbers without any letters in them. So if you look here, this is not a constant. 1.2x, that's a number with the variable, so that's considered a term with the variable. These are considered constants. So this is a constant, this is a constant, this is a constant. So you can combine these before you actually multiply the 6 into both of those numbers. So some of you might have learned this in elementary school. It's called PEMDAS. And all PEMDAS is an order of operations, an order and a way to do or solve your math. So the first letter is a P, and the P stands for parentheses. So in this case, you have a parentheses, which is this right here. So you're going to solve what's inside the parentheses before you do anything outside of it. So if we have 14.3 minus 8.3, you can line those up. Just line up your decimals when you're adding or subtracting them. And subtract them. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring your decimal down. 14 minus 8 is 6. 6.0 is the same thing as just writing 6. So now you can actually multiply 6 times 6, and 6 times 6 is 36. Or you could have put 0.0 and given me 36.0. It's the same either way. Now let's look at number 2. It says find the value of 5 times 1.2x minus 8. So if you look here, these are not like terms. So 1.2x is not the same or similar to 8 because 8 does not have x next to it. So you can't combine this. So PEMDAS doesn't really apply to this right here because there's nothing you can do inside the parentheses. Now you just have to distribute the 5 to each term in that parentheses. So 5 by the distributive property gets multiplied to 1.2x and negative 8 or just 8. So let's try to solve this. 5 times 1.2x, so 5 times, here let me write that a different way. You guys can't see when I erase, but here's 1.2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Some of you guys are going to work faster than me, which I love, so if you want to work faster than me, go ahead. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. And you went 1 decimal place in, so 1 decimal place in. 6.0 is the same thing as just writing 6. So now we can write 6, and don't forget that x, minus, and then what's 5 times 8? 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, moving on to number 3. So number 3 is kind of review. I mean, this is all review, but you want to turn this mixed fraction into an improper fraction in order to get the decimal. So in order to make this mixed fraction into an improper fraction, we have to multiply these two numbers together, the denominator by the base, plus the numerator. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9, so we have 9 over 2. And the way we find the decimal is we rotate the fraction. Remember I taught you just rotate the 9? And if you rotate the fraction, you have 9, and then you have 2 right there. Draw your fraction out, and now you can divide. 2 goes into 9 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Can 2 go into 1? No, so you have to write your decimal, bring the 0 down. Can 2 go into 10? Yes, and that's 4.5. Now number 4 is a little tricky. It seems a little easy, but you have to remember the last step. I think that the last step is where a lot of you guys might get confused. So it says the price of the chandelier is $65. I'm sorry, $62. What is the price if it is on sale for 75% off? So we have the chandelier is, let me move this up. The chandelier is $62, okay? $62. And we want to know what the price is if it's 75% off. So if I want to write 75% as a decimal, all I have to do is put a decimal right here next to the 5 and move it 2 spaces to the left. So 75% turns into 0.75. Okay, now I can multiply that 0.75 to 62. And basically what that's telling you, the root of what you're doing is you're finding 75. This is like saying 75 cents, right? This 0.75, this right here. So if I'm multiplying 65 by 0.75, that's like getting 75 cents of each dollar that's in 65. So that's getting 75 cents 62 times, okay? And that tells us the discount. That tells us how much it's going to be off. So what you calculate here is going to be the discount, but that's not what the question's asking you. The question's not asking you what's 75% off. It's asking you what is the price of the chandelier if it's 75% off. So it's not asking you for the discount. We need to find that, but it's not asking you for that. It's asking you for the price of the chandelier after you take the discount. So I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. Just multiply this out. So you multiply it out on your paper and I'll multiply it out right here. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 6 is 30, 31. Put your placeholder. 2 times 7 is 14. 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 1 is 43. Add those together and I get... And then I have 2 decimal places, 2 decimal places. So I have 46.50. So I have 46.50. But this right here is the discount. That's how much you're getting it off. So you have $62 minus $46.50 because that's the discount. And whatever you get here, now that's your answer because that's going to be the new price of the chandelier. So let's subtract this really quick. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 5, you can't do that. You got to borrow. 10 minus 5 is 5. Bring your decimal down. You can't subtract 1 from 6, so you have to borrow. 11 minus 6 is 5. 5 minus 4 is 1. So now you have $15.50. So now this $62 chandelier is now $15.50. That is a really good sale. So some of you might remember number 5, but let's pretend this is the first time we're learning it. So it says, what is the difference between the record low temperatures of Hawaii and Montana? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to annotate or mark Hawaii, wherever it is on the actual graph. So there's Hawaii, and then we have Montana. So Hawaii is at 12 degrees, because that's what it tells us right here. And Montana is at negative 70 degrees. So we have negative 70 degrees. All right, and it's asking you what the difference is. So if you look here, if we start at 12, where Hawaii is, and we go to 0, how many degrees did you go down? You went negative 12 degrees down, right? And from 0 to negative 70, you went another negative 70. So if they're same signs, add and keep them, negative 12 plus negative 70, that's negative 82 degrees. That's a change in the temperature. Or you could have also written it like this. Negative 70 minus 12. Well, you know that you can't subtract integers, so you have to change that to the addition. Change that to the addition of the opposite. So what's the opposite of positive 12? Negative 12. Same sign, add and keep. So that's negative 82. All right, now I'm going to try to review some of the other questions on your Quizzette for this week because some of them are a little difficult. I feel like you'll be able to do Tuesday just fine. Let's look at Wednesday. For Wednesday, just remember when you're doing Wednesday to distribute that 5 to both of those terms. And then once you distribute, you can simplify and subtract the negative 3.15. I'm sorry, the negative 3.5 and the negative 1.5x. Number 3, it says, while looking at some reports, a store manager notes that water heaters that retail for $900 end up costing customers $972 once the sales tax is added. What is the sales tax percentage? Your hint is use percent over 100 equals part over base. So if the question's asking you for a percentage, don't you think that that's where your x is going to go? So you're going to have x over 100 equals part over base. So now it's up to you to figure it out and to critically think which one's going to be your part and which one's going to be your base. I'm sorry, tigers. I tried to pause the video, but it wouldn't let me pause it. Number 4 for all the days is just going to be review of probability and statistics. So just read the questions carefully and choose the sample method that is most accurate. Now let's look at number 3 for Thursday and Friday. So number 3 for Thursday says, Wendy has $35 and she earns $10 for each baby she babysits. Wendy wants to buy a ticket to Disneyland that costs $125. How many babies does Wendy need to babysit to buy her ticket to Disneyland? So, if we're just annotating it, you would annotate all the dollar amounts, right? For each baby that she babysits. Wendy wants to buy a ticket that costs $125. How many babies does she have to babysit to buy a ticket to Disneyland? So the very first thing I would do is look at the grand total. So the grand total that she wants to buy is $125, right? So the ticket is $125. She already has $35. So you can already subtract. You can subtract $35. And then whatever total you get here, see how many times 10 goes into that number, and that's the amount of babies she has to babysit. Same thing for number 3 on Friday. It says Michael has $60 and earns $15 for each phone he fixes. Michael wants to buy a TV that costs $270. How many phones does Michael need to fix to buy his TV? So the grand total is 270. That's his goal. And he already has 60. So you subtract 60. And then whatever number you get, see how many times you can fit 15 in there. Divide 15 into that number, and that's how many phones he has to fix. I think that's it for this Quizzette. I do want you to pay attention to this question right here. So all the other ones are asking you for a decimal, or write it as a decimal, or convert the decimal into a fraction, vice versa. But this one's asking you write this number as a percentage. So first you have to find the decimal, and then when you have the decimal, you can tell me what the percentage is. Alright, Tigers, if you ever have any questions, I want you to reference this Quizzette video first. And if it doesn't help you, then you can raise your hand or look at your math notebook, and hopefully it makes much more sense to you. Have a great week and make wise choices.